When you opened your eyes, the first thing you heard was the sound of a bell. A cold wind cut across your face, mud under your feet, and there was a heavy smell of iron in the air. You were on a battlefield. The year was 1066. Thousands of chainmail-clad soldiers surrounded him, shields adorned with a blue wolf, the symbol of the Anglo-Saxons. A guard stepped forward. "And who is this?" they asked. "Speak your name, stranger." You slowly raised your hands in the air. As your chest rose and fell rapidly, you answered quietly, "Wait, I am not a stranger. I come from beyond time." The soldiers' faces went pale. Swords were pointed at you. Then the crowd quietly split into two. A man came walking, King Harold Godwinson, and in a loud voice, "No one touch him," he shouted. But one of the soldiers, overcome with anger, disobeyed the order. He raised his sword and ran toward you. You drew your weapon from your belt and fired into the air. The soldiers dropped to the ground. Some screamed, some began to pray. Swords, spears, beliefs, everything was shaken. Harold, however, froze. There was both fear and awe in his face. He whispered, "The weapon of thunder." You gave him the weapon. The king raised the weapon like a hero holding Excalibur. For the first time, real hope appeared in his eyes. "Only a single good I was locked onto you." "Who are you?" it asks. "I am someone from beyond time," you say. "If you are a sign, speak. Why have you come to my battlefield?" You turn your head and point to the hills in the south. "William is coming. Tomorrow, you will lose this battle." The soldiers panicked all at once, murmurs rising among them. Harold took a step forward. The generals began to shout, but King Harold Godwinson silenced them all with a single word. "This young man is my guest. Then, show me how to win." And so the mission began. You were led through the palace corridors. Doors adorned with gold open. Inside, a large, ornate room has been prepared. Silk curtains, thick rugs, and hot meals await you. That night, no one is sleeping in the palace. The pashas are arguing, but the final word still comes from King Harold Godwinson. "We will be patient. We will see what it brings us." As you look at the sky from the window, you realize you are now a guest of the king you've only seen in TV series. When morning comes, the door of the room opens. Two soldiers enter and say, "The king wants to see you." You are taken to the palace courtyard. Dozens of soldiers are lined up between the high walls. The king watches you from his throne on the stone steps. Everyone is curious. Are we going to win with this little iron? A thick wooden shield was placed 40 meters away. "With fire," said Harold. You pulled the trigger. Bang! The shield was shattered in one hit. Everyone looked at you in astonishment. You stay in the courtyard for days. The soldiers take turns holding the pistol. You teach them how to hold it, how to aim, and how to pull the trigger. Their hands trembled and their ears rang with the first shots, but they kept going and gained courage. The shields were broken one by one. Each shot became more accurate. The king watched every training session silently, with narrowed eyes, but the pashas still looked skeptical. That night, when you returned to your room, you lie down on the bed. In fact, the gun was just the beginning. There were things you had brought from the time machine that you had not yet shown. Tanks, drones, cars, grenades. But you wouldn't tell anyone until the time came. The training lasted for days. The soldiers were now hitting the targets, piercing the shields. But in your bag, there was still something that no one had seen. That night, the army camp was in chaos. Fires were burning. Soldiers were whispering. Some of them shouted, "This man is a messenger of God." Some were shouting, "This is not a human. The devil will bring us death," and ran away. A bishop hurriedly approached Harold. "Your Majesty, the weapons this stranger has brought may be cursed. You are going against the will of God." Harold responded with a stern look. "Our only curse is the fall of England, and I will not accept that." Then he gave an order. With the dawn, the new training begins. You train non-stop for 3 days. A hand grenade. As soldiers approached, stunned, Harold asked, "Is this also a thunderclap?" You pulled the pin. Everyone jumped back. You threw the grenade. The ground shakes. Stones scatter everywhere. The men fell and rolled. The generals turned deathly pale. The soldiers cover their ears. Some retreat in fear. Even Harold wobbled and sat down. "What kind of power is this?" You don't answer. You just show the other grenades in your bag. No one can speak. The ground is shaking. Pieces of stone are scattering everywhere. The men fall and tumble. The high-ranking officers are turning completely pale. The soldiers cover their ears. Some retreat in fear. Even Harold stumbled and sat down on the ground. "What kind of power is this?" You don't answer. You just point to the other bombs in the bag. No one can speak. The next day, the soldiers' training begins. You explain how to maintain a safe distance and how to pull the pin. Everything was going fine, but one of the soldiers, out of fear, holds the bomb in his hand for too long after pulling the pin. You shout, "Drop it!" But it's too late. The commanders immediately take advantage of this opportunity and stand up. "Did you see? This young man brought bad luck." You run to the wounded soldier. With your modern knowledge, you provide first aid. At that moment, the soldier's perception of you changes. You are no longer only a bringer of deadly force, but also of healing. The king watches everything silently. Then, in a calm voice, he says, "The training will continue. Those who make mistakes will pay the price." Weeks go by. The soldiers are now able to skillfully use pistols and bombs. The next miracle. One morning, you gather everyone in a large area. While the generals and soldiers watch you with curiosity, you take a small remote control and a drone out of your bag. You turn on the remote and lift the drone into the sky. Its propellers spin like wings, cutting through the air. Some soldiers look for a place to hide out of fear. "This is flying. This is not a bird." The king shouts in a booming voice. Everyone like this video and subscribe to the channel. As the drone rose, the shadows of the tents grew larger. King Harold looked up at the sky, his eyes shining. When the drone camera turned on, the entire valley appeared on the screen. Harold touched the screen and whispered, "Normans, they won't be able to hide from us." A general bowed his head. "This is like the eye of God." You went outside the camp to show the last surprise. Huge shapes covered with cloth. The soldiers approached curiously. You pulled off the covers. Tanks. The soldiers' faces turned pale. Some knelt down, some ran away. Harold walked slowly towards the tank. This is not a war machine. No, your majesty is a monster from beyond the ages. You started the engine. The tank roared. Everyone flinched. You turned the barrel into an old watchtower. The tower instantly turned to dust. Harold's one eye gleamed. The training is progressing rapidly. Tanks are advancing across the plain. A drone is conducting surveillance in the sky. Grenades and sacks. Soldiers in training one after another. But today you are bringing something different. Large vehicles covered are being brought in. At the signal of the generals, the covers are removed. 4x4 off-road vehicles and luxury SUVs. You get behind the wheel and step on the gas. The vehicle passes through the mud without shaking. The soldiers are impressed. Then a soldier takes the wheel. He starts off nervously but soon feels the power. The wheels don't get stuck even on the stony ground. The king is pleased. He realizes that these vehicles are more agile than tanks. But with innovation comes danger. A tank can't control the turn and crashes into tents. An SUV can't control its speed and crashes into a hut. Some soldiers get scared and start to run away. The generals who don't like you immediately start yelling, "You brought us trouble." But the king stands up and says, "Let not the fearful stand among us. The one who will use this power is the fearless." Undisciplined and cowardly soldiers step aside. Only the brave soldiers remain. Now the king had not only swords, bows, and cannons in his hands. There were pistols, bombs, drones, tanks, and armored 4x4 vehicles. After the accidents, the training continues under stricter rules. Special units are established for the tanks. A new elite team is formed for the off-road vehicles. The day of battle is coming. The morning was foggy. Harold's army had taken their new positions. Drones in the sky, tanks positioned on the hills, soldiers armed with pistols, grenades at their sides, armored vehicles ready and waiting. On the horizon, the Norman army appeared. Horsemen, archers, armored knights. Hundreds of enemy soldiers are coming. Harold raised his sword. "England will stand with me." You turned on the drone footage. The Norman reconnaissance unit became visible. Harold gave the first command. The tank barrels are pointed to the sky. The firing begins. Fire! The tank fired. The cavalry was shattered. The Normans panicked. The Normans launched an attack. All-terrain vehicles are advancing behind the tanks. Trenches are being crossed. Soldiers are reaching the walls. Barricades are being destroyed with grenades. The drone shows the point where the enemy is hiding. Within minutes, that spot is also under fire. A huskarl shouted, "For Harold! For England!" The tanks crushed the incoming spearmen. Drones revealed their tactics. William went mad. What the hell is this? What kind of war is this? But it was too late. The Norman army broke and retreated. An incredible silence prevailed on the battlefield. Harold came to your side. He put his hand on your shoulder. "Today!" England breathed. Then he turned to his soldiers. "This victory will be told for 1,000 years. For the first time, England did not fall. Harold did not die. The course of history changed. As the sun set, Harold spoke quietly. "If this power is truly yours, then the rise of England is just beginning. Your reputation is growing in the palace. Everyone is talking about you. And one day, the king will raise you to the highest military position in the state." But you looked into the distance. New ships had appeared beyond the horizon. Different kingdoms, new enemies, new wars, and a future that even modern technology would struggle with. This was only the beginning. You were no longer just a guest. You were one of the king's most powerful statesmen. But this rise is making some pashas uneasy. The first steps of betrayal are being taken. In the dead of night, doors quietly open. An armed group is moving toward your room. Some carry swords, some carry the pistols you brought. The guards hear the sounds and run. The palace corridors suddenly turn into a battlefield. There is an unprecedented fear on the faces of the pashas. According to them, you are now immortal. Since they do not know the secret of the steel, they think this is divine protection. But the real danger is just beginning. This attempted betrayal will show that some of the state are loyal, while others would do anything for power. And you, at that very moment, shout. Subscribe, and if you want this series to continue, write your creative ideas in the comments.